Good afternoon and welcome to NYFB. In midday trade on this Monday, the major U.S. stock averages are trading higher and holding on to session gains. Joining me now is Alan Valdes of DME Securities. Alan, good afternoon and thanks for joining me today.
Remy, thanks for having me today.
Well, although we got a worse than expected durable goods orders, we are seeing stocks lower for the day, and I guess that ties into the whole tapering speculation. So what do you make of the action?
Well, bad for Main Street, good for Wall Street. I mean, in the respect that the number was so bad. I mean, this was a horrible number. But it looks like the Feds may, we got a big jobs number coming out soon. So it looks like the Feds may rethink tapering in September. The market loves the fact that they're putting $85 billion a month into the market. So any talk of tapering. But, the Feds they've boxed themselves in. Not only do they have to worry about here in the United States, but if you saw even talk in India and Thailand and Brazil, it rattles these markets around the world. So I think I don't think the Feds are going to taper in September. I think you may not even see tapering to 2015. Remember those retail numbers a couple of weeks ago were horrible. So I think Main Street America still has a hard time. If you look at the jobs created, even though the numbers are consistent to drifting a little lower, still I think 67,000 full-time jobs as opposed to 174,000 part-time jobs. So even the disparity in full-time, part-time work's out of control.
And Alan, indeed, we get the jobs figures next Friday after we come back from the Labor Day holiday weekend. So we'll get a better idea of the Fed's tapering timeline. But also in the spotlight today, we got a handful of merger and acquisition news on this Monday. We had Onyx and Amgen in the pharmaceutical sector, and we also had BATS as well as the Direct Edge Holdings deal, and they will be the second largest exchange operator here in the U.S. But I do want to get your take on what we saw in terms of the NASDAQ 3-hour trading halt at the end of last week. What do you make of that?
Well, for the average person, it's no big deal. But for NASDAQ, that's a huge black eye coming off the Facebook debacle, coming off Twitter may look now with the New York Stock Exchange. 6 months ago, Twitter was definitely going to go to the NASDAQ. Now there's rumors they're thinking about coming right here, down to here. But, here's the biggest tech market in the world. I mean, they have over $5 trillion in market cap. They have over 2,000 stocks. But yet their technology is not up to par, unfortunately. And, there's going to be a lot of talk about the SIP, how there's two books, one for the rich that can pay. But that's really small because it trades so quickly in pennies. It doesn't affect. If you're buying Apple, it's not the SIP disparity is not going to affect you. But I think in the long run, you may see traders, and you may see traders go, I mean, there are 60 different platforms where you can trade stock now. I mean, there's platforms in New Jersey. There's platforms in Miami. Miami has a great electronic exchange that has never crashed either. So I think you're going to see traders say, hey, you know what? Let me send this to Miami. So you may see that pop its head. And in the long run, I think NASDAQ's going to suffer more than and has nothing to do with the breakdown, but I think it has more to do with that perception that traders and the fact that SIP is there and the fact that big companies may say, you know what? I got to be up every day. We're up every day here. They're going to look at New York.
Okay, Alan. Well, thank you so much for weighing in on that. But before we wrap it up, I do want to get your take on what we're seeing in terms of the political space. All eyes are on Syria, and there is a lot of speculation about what the U.S. might do, in particular President Obama. So how are you factoring that into your overall outlook, if at all?
Well, no, I mean, we look at world events constantly. I mean, Syria, that part of the world is always in flux. But, I mean, anytime we get involved, it becomes more chaotic, more convoluted. But, events in the Mideast, I mean, we look at Egypt even more because of the Suez Canal and all the oil that goes through there. But, of course, any proxy for Iran to get into a war, or Russia, it's a problem. We watch and we look at. I mean, you want stability, especially in that region of the world. And right now, there's no stability in Syria, Iran, Iraq, Egypt. So it's a problem over there. And we do follow closely. And remember, we still get a lot of oil from that neck of the woods. So it's a problem. There's no question about it.
Well, Alan, we'll continue to monitor that situation. And as always, thank you so much for insight and analysis, Alan.
Remy, thanks for having me.